Okay, welcome back. You're still watching NTV SportKnights. Thank you so much for sparing your time every other Monday from 10 p.m. all the way to midnight as we continue to discuss everything else that is happening in this wonderful world of sport, really. This time, moment of silence, because if they bring the wide shot, clearly it's going to look like everything we've been talking about. Karim and Umar, can we have the wide shot so that we have, there you have it, there you have it. This is it now. This is it. It's all systems go. Super, super excited to have two great gentlemen. I must say they both arrived on time, which is very important in this country. When people arrive on time, you've got to give it up to them. Ahmed Hussein, the head of communications at FIFA. Good to have you. Welcome to NTV SportKnights.
I'm glad to be here and ready to share some insights on Ugandan football.
Alex Luganda, the head of League at Vipers Sports Club. Good to have you.
It's a pleasure being here. It's been a while since I've been hosted for sports-related discussions. I also want to congratulate you. The studio looks awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I look forward to a very interesting and information-oriented evening. Hopefully, by the end of the 2 hours, I will be able to explain to my neighbor what the new league format means.
Alex has even added an extra hour. So 1 a.m. it is.
Why not?
Perhaps some offset.
NTV will be happy to give you the extra hour as long as you receive the invoice. So we're super, super excited. For purposes of this conversation, Andrew and Clive, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us. we are honored to join the two eminent.
Okay, where do we even start? Anyway, Alex and Hussein, the last time, which is a couple of days ago, should have been on the 9th of this very month, when that meeting was held at the Kampala Serena here. Representatives from the Uganda Premier League and the FUFA officials, led by the president, Engineer Moses Magogo, holding that meeting that was chaired by the president. But what we know so far, or where we are now, is the fact that 3 teams in NEC FC, on behalf the chairman, Brian Muhand, on behalf of NEC, Vipers, of course, led by the president, Dr. Lawrence Mulindwa, with Alex right in his back very closely, and then STV as well, Haji Omar Mandela, walked out of the meeting. Later on, the person who chaired the meeting saying that as far as he is concerned, no one walked out, but instead, people asked that they have better things to attend to, and he excused them. That's where we are now. So, Alex, I will start with you. That's where we are now. Is there something that has changed since then and now on your part?
No, not really, because the Vipers as a sports club and as a member of FUFA has been very categoric. And we've gone down on record about what our opinions are in respect to the proposed and now the new league format. Because initially, by the time we had documented our opinions and views, it was proposed. But as we speak now, it's a new league format. I don't know whether I should use singular or plural, because over the last 2 weeks, we've got close to now 4 circulars on the league format. I'm not even sure by the time we finish the show whether the circular 1204, which was issued this morning, will still be the one that is subsisting, because it seems, and I want to say kudos to FUFA, the circular is changing depending on the amount of pressure and voices that are coming in response to the same. So as Vipers, we had documented our views, and also for the record, because there have been voices that have been echoed in certain circles and the social media, which are akin to blackmail. The Vipers, as the current champions of the Ugandan League and the representatives of this country on the African continent in the Champions League, we have no problem with the federation. And our views are in principle and on principles, and we are very resolute on the same. We owe no apologies for the same. But just like the president put it clear in the meeting we had at Serena on the 9th, which was shared by the FUFA president, he has no ill feelings against the people at FUFA. But we specifically have issues with the proposals. And we had initially thought they would be very simple issues to understand. We thought they would appeal to common sense and logic. Unfortunately, I think the spirit to understand the concerns from our point of view, which was the point of view that was shared by about 14 clubs on the Thursday before the Monday meeting. Because in the meeting that had been held around the 5th with all the clubs, they had even signed a document indicating their concerns and disapproval of the new proposed league format. And the idea was, let's sleep over this. And the views came from the chair of the meeting, that was the federation. Let's sleep over this. It was a Thursday, maybe we come back on Tuesday. By that time, we shall be able to give you responses to some of these, and we have a way forward. Mm-hmm. And if you're very clear, and I saw you run it on the SportKnights, even the federation, through the federation president, was non-committal. He said, no, it could go either way. When we come on Tuesday, we may adopt the league format, or we may postpone it or abandon it. What happened between Friday and the 2 days of the weekend and Monday, nobody knows. The modus operandi, the mode of operation changed. Now, instead of having issues resolved in a meeting, I think clubs were asked in writing to commit whether they would agree. They agreed to the reforms with the package that comes with it. Initially it was 2.4 billion, then
3.4.
After a meeting it increased by 1 billion. I also want to thank the Federation for such level of philanthropy. So the condition to the clubs had been, you take it on with the bonus, or if you don't want, we give it to the big league. Mm-hmm. And when we came back on Tuesday, the clubs had allegedly written. Unfortunately, I was among those who reached early, because we had agreed that we have a caucus on how to move forward. Another document had been prepared, and the clubs had been requested to sign. Unfortunately, now, I think after 4 clubs signing, that was Villa, Vipers, NEC, and Police.
Yeah.
Now, when there were calls to the other club leadership that, no, we had agreed to sign this, say that for Tuesday, we present these views. I was like, please wait, we'll get back to you. Please wait, we shall get back to you. And on Tuesday, when we reach, it's like, we're sorry, we agree with you, but we can't commit any longer in writing, because certain things have changed. Mm-hmm. Yeah, certain things have changed from where we are. We're institutions. There are directives that we have to follow. We don't want to be seen like we are fighting. And that's the mood that guided what happened in that meeting. So when it happened that it was no longer about consensus and issue-based, but the conversation had now changed from the issues to quorum. Who has the numbers? And the 13 clubs that were initially 3 days earlier having issues, because this thing is not about the league format, and that's where for me I have a very fundamental problem. The league format is a very, okay, it's what has made news, but behind that there are so many other issues that, one, do not make sporting sense, two, they are legally flawed, and they violate fundamental principles. I'm a sports lawyer. I'm a lex sportiva, as we call ourselves. So I understand what sporting justice means. I know also what natural justice means. But then I also know that there is nothing called sports law. What we call sports law is a combination of so many laws. Employment law, human rights law in one aspect, safety and precaution law, and so many other things. So you pick peanuts from all those and you create a body we call lex sportiva or sports law. So some of the proposals that were brought in the league format, because what the Wananchi are discussing is the league format. But behind that league format are issues to do with contracts of players. And they are saying that when you have less than 2 years remaining on your contract, you will not be licensed. But then, what is illegal about a 1-year contract? What is illegal about a 2-year contract? If I have, for instance, a 4-year contract signed and I've moved 2 years and a half, that would make me 1.5 years to finish the contract. Now, under the new regulations, I would not be able to license a player in that context. We have instances where you have players that have left the country, some prematurely gone for professional, he's in South Africa, he's not working out, and it's like, I think I have to go back to Uganda, maybe I play with KCC for 1 season, as my agent works out where I'm going next. Now, under the new arrangement, such would not be able to happen. Now, the concern and question is, what is the mischief? Because every time you bring laws and regulations, we want you to address the mischief you want to address. Now, would such a kind of regulation promote sports, promote our young boys and young girls to develop their talent and get value from it? Secondly, there were issues still that we are dealing with revenue. Now, there are components about marketing of this format, which I will look at later on in the discussion, about this modernity and so many of those other things. But I just wanted to look at what is behind the format, minus even discussing the actual format with these complexities, because I'm one of those people who are of the view that if you can explain something in a quarter of a page, why would you need 10 pages to explain the same thing in the sake of innovation, modernity, and whatever it is? Currently, what is happening in the league format that has determined the winner in the final matches, because for about 3 seasons that have passed, the Ugandan Premier League champion has been determined barely on the final day. About 2 seasons back, FUFA even had to get a chopper. Yeah, because they didn't know whether Wankulukuku or Chitende. Whether Wankulukuku or Chitende. So they had to hire a chopper to keep running around. So, to the wisdom of those in charge of sports in football in this country, that's not competitive. Yeah, that league, that format is not competitive enough. How do you determine a winner? Because we are talking about marketing football. Because we must also look at these things in the realm of sports marketing. What marketability requires that you must be simple, understandable, straightforward. So how do you determine a winner of the league of Uganda? If my wife, Angela, by the time we met so many years, she wasn't following sports. Now she's a football fan. She was supporting Man U by the way because of Ronaldo. When Ronaldo left, she left in Man U. But when she asks me, how do you determine the winner of the league in Uganda, I must be able to say there are 16 teams playing. They play home and away. That's a total of 30 games. And the one who accumulates the maximum number of points takes the league. The last 3 on the table are relegated. And that's very simple.
What do you tell her now? So
right now, when I was telling her I'm going to TV, 20TV talk about the new league format, and she's like, new league format, what does it mean? So, I'm saying it's making my, I told her it's making my answer that I gave you the first time we met 15 years ago. When you asked me how do you determine the winner of the league, I used less than a minute to explain it to you. Right now, for me to explain to you who takes the league, I would need about 30 minutes. I would need a book, I would need a pen, and I may need a calculator to give you that answer. And for me, if modernity means that, if modernity means that,
then you would rather remain ancient.
I would rather remain ancient. I would rather remain ancient like the English Premier League, which 98% of Ugandans follow. I would rather remain ancient like the Spanish League. I would rather remain ancient like the Ligue 1 of France and German League.
But luckily for you, Council, we have Hussein here. So let's see how let's see how Hussein would explain to your wife in under a minute. Hussein, the floor is yours. Explain to Council's wife in under a minute.
Thank you. I think when you're trying to market, it doesn't mean that.
Wow.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that the reforms make marketing difficult. So reforms or changes don't make anything difficult, depending on which side of the coin you're coming from and how you want to perceive it. For the Federation, it's a long-term strategy. Before I get to explain the format, it's a long-term strategy that started way back in 2020. This strategy has helped us, one, to achieve success in governance, where Alex was a member as a legal person expert since 2013. We've achieved the success with the national team, having a senior team qualify for AFCON 3 times, the junior teams going for AFCON, the under-17 World Cup, the girls also qualifying for the WAFCON, and even the success coming at the region. So this long-term strategy is not happening overnight, that we woke up and started dreaming about the reforms, and boom, it's to the Uganda Premier League. So we felt that our attention now should switch to another long-term strategy, building on to the international football, as well as the governance. Now we're looking at how do we get to the sporting success, and then also the financial success for Ugandan football, and in particular now with the clubs in the top league. Our implementation of the technical master plan definitely is part of the long-term strategy, and we also want to make sure that the competitions do enjoy that change. And the change is not happening actually but in the Uganda Premier League alone. The changes have actually been effected in most of our competitions. Maybe some people may not even know that we have the provincial league, which may be the 6th league. We have the 5th league. The regional leagues have actually also faced already reforms, but because the top tier league, the Uganda Premier League, you expect everyone who loves football, everyone who loves the national team will definitely bring all that fire towards us. The media, everyone who loves their clubs, because we are very much sure that the biggest following of club football here is for the teams actually that in the Uganda Premier League. So what do you expect on social media? You expect people to come out all guns blazing. They will appreciate the changes, but they also want to find out exactly why the change.
And understand them.
So we believe that for the past 2-3 weeks have given us a chance to listen, to hear from them, engage, some of them at individual level, some of them at different social media platforms. You soak in the abuse, you soak in the challenges, the ideas they're bringing, the clubs themselves, which has helped actually the federation. That for the past 2 weeks, when we started with the first circular from Mr. Edgar Watson to where we are right now, we believe that the ideologies, the changes that the proposals that have come from the clubs and the fans have been catered for.
Hussein, so, I'm still waiting and hoping.
Yeah, I'm going to do the explanation because yes. So it's a new format of 3 rounds, and because we have the 3 rounds, definitely you can't do it under 1 minute, but I can do it maybe under 2.5 minutes, which is very easy.
You spoke for 15 minutes. You have all the time.
No, the choice was his, definitely. So when you have the 16 teams which are unchanged from what we had last season, the first round that actually will involve the teams playing each other for only 1 leg. So one team plays 15 matches. The 15 matches per club will give you the chance to have the rankings from number 1 to number 16. We head to round 2. The top 8 teams go to group 1 for round 2, and the bottom 8 will go to group 2 for round 2. So at round 2 stage, the top 8 teams will play each other, home and away. Then the bottom 8 from round 1 will play each other, home and away. At the end of those 2 stages, round 1 and round 2, each team will have played 29 matches. 15 from the first round, and the second round 14.
Yeah.
So the top 6 from group 1 will move to round 3, which is the penultimate stage to determine the champion, and also the bottom 8, the teams that finish in the bottom 6 will go to another group, which is group 5. Now in between there is 7, 8, 9 and 10 will also join into another group, which is group 4. But now the top 6 for group 3 will play just 1 leg. But the points from round 2 will be cumulative to the next round of 3. So you gather your points, you carry your points from round 2 to round 3, put them together to determine the champion who will be at the top.
A quick one, and I know...
Please no. I'm still getting when you have the bottom 6, they'll go to group 5, and that's when you'll be determining the teams that will be relegated, the bottom 2. So they play one leg fixture as well. So the 7, 8, 9 and 10 also play 1 leg fixture to determine their positions at the end of the season from number 1 to number 16. So the bottom 2 teams will get relegated, and that's as simple as that. I don't think I've taken 15 minutes.
So, maybe for me, my question to Hussein, he can join them, there are 2. What is the spirit and objective behind the new league format? But also, what has happened in the last 2 weeks, the back and forth that has led to about 4 circulars being released? Couldn't that have happened before the league format was put out there for the public and others? What has happened in the last 2 weeks? Couldn't that have happened before? But also, what's the spirit and objective?
Actually, there can be as many as 10 circulars, depending on the proposals that are coming from our members. We are serving members of FUFA, who are 34 members. Vipers and the 15 other clubs are members of FUFA.
But you don't say someone will say if you had met or touched base with those members before you rolled out the project.
No, I think it's a big lie when you're on national TV and you say that we need to engage. I've told you that the reforms actually and the discussions started way back in 2020.
Maybe you didn't engage.
No.
You're saying 15 such.
Give me the chance. Give me the chance. Give me the chance. Alex, give me the chance to speak. Okay. Use the 15 minutes.
Right.
Since 2020, the engagements have been on. But there was an official platform for you to actually come up and debate about this. In Mbale, in Moroto, in Maya, in Hoima, these are things that we have discussed about in the assembly. And even when the Honorable Magogo was elected, one of the key focus areas, number one, was implementing the technical master plan and also the competitions reforms. I don't think that would have passed in the assembly if it had not been presented.
But then these clubs are members of the assembly. Why are they acting like they were green about everything?
It's not about being green, but depending on where you're putting your attention as well.
Maybe
on the particular day.
I wanted to say something. For purposes of this conversation, minus tagging minutes on it.
Yes, a lighter one.
I think for me, I want to thank Ahmed, because for me, the actual confession that these changes are happening, you know, over the last 2 weeks, so many changes have happened to this circular, and it simply tells you that there was no engagement.
But that's not the truth.
Prior, extensive, detailed, and packed engagement on the content of the reform. It's one thing talking about we shall introduce the reforms, and it's another thing unpacking what exactly is contained in these league reforms. At all those engagements is talking about, when you're talking about a master plan, like a 5-year strategic plan, it's on the holistic level. You'll say we shall implement modernization of the league, make the league more competitive, reform the leagues, and ABCD. But you've not unpacked what exactly that means. Mm-hmm. If I would put Ahmed and the Federation to task, before the circular that came out, circular 1202, is there any official document where all those details about revenue collection, about the prayer licensing being capped, about the concepts of data and business, player and business data being shared, the whole unpacking of this document? Now, the first time it was released is when the clubs woke up that, what is this, what reform means? Because from even what Ahmed has explained, but I was even initially still speaking, but I said, if my wife would ask me the same question now, I would have to invite Ahmed on phone to explain to my wife. And by all standards, my wife is an elite, top. She understands very fast. I'm glad they do their job. But from even what Ahmed has explained, it appears like a chemistry or physics class.
It's just a perception.
And there are about 6 leagues within a league. We are having 6 mini leagues within a league. Then you're playing round 1. Yeah? And round 1 is for just warming up. That whatever efforts you put in round 1, whatever amount of money you've invested in round 1 is for simply knowing
finishing the top 8
or top bottom. When I was still in school, and I think the Ministry of Education no longer allows this, where schools group pupils and students according to their intellectual. I was in Kia College Botiki, then those in W were the dwarfs, yeah? Academic dwarfs, that the time you are told you are in W, stream W, you are the dwarf. Now, for sporting integrity, yeah, as part of promoting football in this country, we are going to create a class of dwarfs. That now for you, the football dwarfs, you are in group B. Now, if you are increasing competition and you're creating dwarfs, say that there are people who will be condemned to relegation, that we have these who fight for the trophy. But let me tell you what happens in Uganda as I take rest of this. Most clubs are based on 1 or 2 players. Yeah? So they have their star players. It's very easy for me in the first 15 games to have my Alan Okello shooting from all angles, and I'll finish number 1 in the first round. What will happen? Midway at the beginning of the second round, I can have my player get an injury. And that will mean that the points are accumulated in the first 15 games may be the ones to save me, because this player may miss the next 4 or 6 or 10 games. Now, the essence of the format that is played the world over, the only challenge is that now FIFA is more international than the international. They will tell us about we are moving international, copying things the way they are done, best practices. Because for me in football, we talk about best practices. So where is this best practice you are bringing? The one of the scientific and chemistry physics league. So the take leave, even the concept that he's explaining of the first round points not making sense and being for Chinyumo. In Luganda they call it Chinyumo. Yeah? In the way all clubs are structured here, you would inevitably need them for purposes of increasing competition. This is how it works. We have surprise comebacks. People who are initially in number 12 or number 13 of the league at close of the first round. We have seen instances where they have come back in the second round because maybe in the first round they had an injury problem. They had so many other factors affect performance. Now, the determination of the best team is not on sporting merit. Sporting merit simply means let the pitch determine. Now here we are gerrymandering and engineering results to the extent of having to fix tables. We are creating a buffet. It's good for innovation and testing, like laboratory guinea pigs testing. You get this formula. Let me get 2 from here, another group, round 5, round 6. Maybe by next week we shall have round 7 created when we have.
And I'm going to give Ahmed, all the time to respond, because Clive had asked about the objectives of these new reforms. So maybe if you take us through those objectives, then we get to analyze, each objective step by step, including, increasing competition and all that. But we'll do that after the break so that I give you plenty of time, because we are in a lesson. Hey,
and I haven't stopped.
I know. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Goodness me, that's strange. But well done, Andrew. Well done. You've done fantastically well. I know more than anyone. But we're taking a break, so when we do return, Ahmed will respond, Andrew will fire his questions, and then we definitely will be talking lots of your feedback that is coming through via the hashtag NTV SportKnights. Keep it here. Welcome back. You're still watching NTV SportKnights. I think we did an extra hour. But the discussion is still going on. We're not even halfway the discussion. But listen, it is important that we take it step by step. Andrew, I want to bring you in, but I have a small request so that we don't lose track of, Hussein's response. And like I said, it's going to be a bit about what, Alex talked about, and then what Clive had asked earlier on about the objectives of these new reforms. That way, we get to examine one by one, because I know part of the objectives is to increase competition. So part of what Alex talked about is the fact that when you look at the last 3 seasons, the Uganda Premier League trophy, for example, has been decided either on the final day or the, second final day, if I can call it that. Mm-hmm. So let's go through the reasons why we're having these reforms. Then we get to compare those reasons to what Alex and, Clive hinted on earlier on.
The reforms is not about the final day of the season, where you're going to see 2 or 3 teams are competing for the trophy. We're looking at the bigger picture. That's why I'm talking about sporting success and financial success. It's not just about a player is walking onto the pitch and then at the end of it all, you're going to determine who the champion will be, depending on the points that have been collected. The sporting success actually cuts across, even get down to the player as well. The financial success is what is the player taking back home, what is the club taking back home, and this is what we are bringing on board. The clubs have been crying out loud that we need support from the federation, we need support from different stakeholders. Now the federation comes up and says, okay, we believe that our strategy for the last 5 years, and we'll be building this, trying to sell the idea to different stakeholders and partners, that let's have now money into the game, but how can we make this change? And this change comes through the football development department, and they come up with the ideas of the technical master plan, which actually the consultation started way back in 2023 in the FUFA Technical Center in Injeru. We went to Imperial Royal, and then also at the Federation, and then presented finally at Maya and even Hoima. So the financial success that we're talking about is to the players and to the clubs. When you look at the figures that are coming in, 532 million shillings, that is going out directly to the clubs from 128 in prize money. I think that is just a start. We don't know what the future holds for the next 2 or 3 or 4 years will give us. For the sporting success, we believe that the players also will benefit a lot from the number of matches. I think the least number of matches the club is going to play is going to be 32, 2 up from the 30, and then the champion will be 34 matches. So we believe that when the top 8 break off, and then the bottom 8 go to another league, continuing to make sure that at the end of the season from 1 to 16, I'm going to say I'll be glad to see Vipers competing with the other big boys in Ugandan football. We know definitely there's going to be extremely hot fire, definitely, to make sure that the champions determined at the right time, with a lot of vigor, with a lot of energy, determination, and even results on the pitch. In not putting that the teams that in the bottom 8 cannot bring up the competition that you have for the Vipers. Let Vipers, let Express, let URA, the Chitaras of this world say, guys, we're now in the top 8. What do we plan for the team that wants to take the title? Could it be me? It could even cause a lot of surprises there. Now, you may not want to, you may want maybe, like Alex has said, that it's categorization of how the teams are going to play, maybe football drafts or what. But at the beginning of every season, there are 2 teams that are going to be relegated. You cannot say those are drafts, you see.
Maybe
so,
also sorry to cut you short, to elaborate.
I think you need to give me time to speak, because I don't think you're doing that to Alex.
Okay.
Okay. So, at the beginning of every season, there are 2 teams that are going to be relegated. Is it a Viper? Is it an Express? Is it a Villa? You never know, because sometimes things fail on the pitch, not because that you can't deliver. It's because maybe there's a team that is stronger than you, depending on how the recruitment was, depending on the financial muscle. That we believe now that 532 million shillings, let it go to the clubs directly. Before the season starts, it was not happening before, 80 million shillings. In case of any variations, are the reforms causing losses? Are the reforms not causing losses? Start with 80 million shillings for you to push forward. Maybe for the extra 2 games, for the extra 4 matches, from the 30 to 34.
Can I ask, and Clive,
Please.
I'll bring you in as well. You talk about the money that goes to the clubs. The constant question has been, why is this money? And like you said, clubs have been crying out to FUFA to do some funding for them. So now that FUFA finally comes out, why is this money hinged on the reforms? Why can't this money be invested into clubs in the old formats? And I don't know if, Clive, if your question is connected to that a bit, but again, it takes us back to the story of, you hinted on competition, you hinted on clubs playing 2 games more compared to the old format for the champion, who now plays 34. I think with the old format it was 30 games in total. Someone is going to say a difference of 4 games, a difference of 4 games, but okay, I don't want to add so many questions into one question. So let's start that. Andrew will come in immediately after your response. I'm going to be kicked off this set. Yeah, why is the money hinged on the new reforms?
No, like I've told that for the last 5 years we've been planning to make sure that we raise money When you raise money, it gets into a pool, and you have to come at the right time when you want that to happen. When you are the assembly, you know, the delegates, of course, give you the mandate. They vote you to make sure that run the game of football. And the reforms were part of what was supposed to happen, starting with this new term of office, which actually was promised at the assembly. And when the reforms come up, definitely, how do you want it to happen? You're not going to come up with reforms where you're going to have extra matches and something's new without you injecting something. And that is money, definitely. And you want to come out something big for the teams. I don't think they're complaining that the money is coming through, and neither are they going to complain that the reforms are that bad. Okay, some of them are saying maybe we're not consulted, which is not the truth. We've done a lot of work on that area, and we believe that we're giving them the chance also to share their ideas. Where we feel maybe we're not right, we're not doing well, we've incorporated their ideas with ours to make sure that we move forward with them. So why the money is coming now is because the reforms are there. And we feel that anything new that we feel is supportive, we need to give them to start with some money.
Andrew, please.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You know how hard it is, huh? Yeah.
I've enjoyed listening to these two gentlemen, and they've gone straight into the meat of the matter. I'm not going to react here and there, but I just want to unpack things that have been piling up since this whole thing started. I'll start with what my very good friend Ahmed said about first mentioned in 2021. And when he says that, you'd think actually from 2021 to date, there's been serious action-oriented consultations. The real actual meeting, you'll correct me, with the club CEOs happened in July. And after that, just after Chan and Uganda getting out, that's when now the circular or the statement from FIFA came through. This is the new format for this season and the reforms and all blah, blah, blah. Now, when they released that, immediately, mamas were making rounds, and then the clubs, KCCA, I think, released the statement. They had written it earlier, but they released, and then Villa and Villa and Vipers, a joint statement. Now, all this was happening while draws were happening for the new league. Now, if you've been doing consultations with these members all this time, and suddenly release something and they're all up in arms, initially, before, you know, letters and all came through, and then you're doing draws. Now that in itself, draws went ahead, and then communication from FIFA was, we shall meet the stakeholders and all. After the statements, that's when the meeting happened, the first meeting at Serena. Now, after that meeting, of course, the statements from Vipers,
that's the statement from
KCCA,
yeah.
Which was a little lukewarm, but fair enough, I put it out. So these statements come, and the FIFA president, Moses Magogo, who actually is very good at saying or telling the public that we are a federation that believes in discourse, in debate and dialogue and all. They came to that meeting, and after that meeting, you had a sense of maybe they're trying to work out something, because let's face it, the reforms, it's not necessarily that, oh, no one wants them. The point is at the speed they came, the manner they were introduced, and the shock of the people who were allegedly consulted when the statement came out. So after that meeting, you thought, and reading especially the Villa Vipers joint statement, I thought that was a statement based on actual issues. It was addressing nothing political, but the speed, everything the way it happened. So from that meeting, they said with the president and the club chairman that the following Tuesday, they'd have some agreement or arrangement. But on the heels of that meeting, a threat in form of a letter from FIFA telling clubs, if you want money, you're with us. If you're not, so it's up to you.
The money goes to the big league. And
that came through. Now you're thinking, this guy is meeting a meeting in good faith to address issues so that football moves. Now, in between that letter and the next meeting on Tuesday, calls were being made, not friendly calls, but calls of threats. At least we have one on video where Haji welcomed you to the meeting, questioning you about the threats. At least I'm not making that up. The fact that he said that, I'm sure his people must have received those calls. And that's the way this country, people with authority operate in this country, threats and intimidation. So the clubs that belong to institutions, especially government institutions, they have people who you'd struggle. I don't know even if they know that actually they understand the football the way it should be understood. These guys have jobs to protect. For example, Anisha, I think, signed off that letter. I don't know who signed it off.
The KCCA letter.
The KCCA letter.
Yeah.
But there are people above her who will say, no. You may want this, but this is the position we are going with. So that happened, and suddenly, the clubs that had kind of showed unity the previous week, each came with, we are now part of it. Vipers and Villa came, and of course, they stormed out before the meeting, and that was a statement for them. Because they,
for permission to...
No, that was according to the president, but Molindo said stormed out on camera. Now, of course, if they had been part of that, they could have been part of the people voting or absconding, and that in itself makes them part of the whole thing. So the fact that they didn't participate in that in itself shows you something. Now, after that, the league format now is official because the 13 voted. It's official, it's happening. Now, the first question you ask is, will it go ahead without Vipers and Villa? Now, after that, you start seeing statements from some of the club bosses going personal now. Of course, there's that allegation of opposition, which I find ridiculous. You have bosses for clubs now going personal about, oh, it's more than an individual. And they forget, these are the same clubs. When things go sour, they'll be in your inbox media to help them. Instead of addressing this thing when it's early, not to discard reforms, but to see how best do we do it. Because as we speak right now, my friend Hussein talked of clubs have been consulted all this time. Now, suddenly the whole country is part of the consultations, live in action. It's like a match in live text. So right now, in the morning I did some good research on the last circular. As we are coming this evening, there's a new circular. I don't know if you know that. So, but at the end of this latest circular, sent off by the CEO Edgar Watson, there's more updates. We'll keep. This is a job that should have been done by FIFA and the member clubs, but right now you're involving all of us to be part of it. The question now is, what's that thing that is life and death, that this must happen this season or never? Instead, this process that we are doing now could have well been communicated that maybe next season is when we are starting. Now let's put in action to address this, and this. So all these things are happening, and you're like, the big question is the why. I've not even come to the format yet. I'm talking about the entire, reforms and all. But also how it's done in leagues or situations where we learn from. These people first put it in your face. They lay out the structure, and the people, the members involved, go through the structure, and they agree on when to implement. The question that every Ugandan should ask is, why the push, why the rush? Then there are several things that come in there. The locker room bonus, which for me kind of raised my eyebrows, because you can't do that unless you have someone behind it. So is there someone pushing FIFA that it must be this season or never? You're not getting the deal? Is there something we don't know that actually it does not matter whether in or not, we have to make this work? And then you have some loyalists among other clubs that you've got to say, this is the deal, we must make it work or not. If it doesn't work this season, and these good things, can they be implemented the next, so that we use this to transition, to plan, and the money, whatever it is, because you're talking about money, clubs, players and all, can actually be absorbed in the current league, and it goes ahead. Now let's go to the format. That format, everything, first round, self-explanatory. Of course, there are several ills there of the one-leg format, which is equalized in the third round, but then whatever you did in terms of points does not contribute to anything at the end of the season, the league standings. Yet in the latest circular, a top scorer can carry their goals to the second and third round.
It's
but
only the goals that count.
It's the goals, but then the points do not count. Okay. Now remember, before the last circular, no, the last two actually, the one this evening and the most recent one before this evening, the 7th to 10th clubs were ending their season in April. Somehow, in terms of negotiations they have been having the last 2 weeks, they managed to make sure those also play. Before this evening circular as well, the 14th club was going to play a playoff with the third of the big league, home and away. Now, imagine someone in the top league is playing a playoff with someone from the bottom league to determine who comes up. Some of these things you're like, where are we copying these things from? So the bottom line for me is, yes, the reforms are good. Let's embrace them. But must it be now? What's that reason that's making it's a do or die? We do it now or never. And also on this set, I want us to answer the question, and Hussein and Alex will help us. What happens? You'll tell us, are you going to play in this format the way it is? Like we need to know from this set. And because you wrote a joint statement, I'm sure you don't belong to Villa, but that statement joined you guys in this fight that you're on. I challenged KCCA the other day to stand by their statement. They've discarded it. Now you and Vipers are the ones who are going to be judged morally where you stand. Are you just going to discard it, or if you must play in the league, under which circumstances? Because the league has to happen. You are the champions. You're going on the continent. Villa are the former champions, the record champions, and I'm trying to see a league without them and legitimacy, but also you cannot stand out completely. And also I'd love to hear from Hussein, what's the way forward in the event Vipers and Villa say they are not playing? Is it, we'll go on and play, or we get a way of addressing this issue so that we move? Because either way, the league has to happen, but the question has to be, are we going to see, I don't see two leagues, but clearly I also I don't see Villa and Vipers sitting out the season, because the solution has to happen. When is it starting? 2 weeks?
26. That's about 12 days from now.
About 12 days from now. Yeah. So I needed to give that kind of preamble, not necessarily a question, but at least at the end, would love to know if you guys will be part of. Hussein, will you proceed without them, or they must, or is there a penalty for them? And then the others will keep coming in.
And I think, Andrew, you have in your preamble, you have a couple of questions for Hussein in there. So he will try and answer those. One of them being, what is it about the new reforms that it is a do or die? Because clearly, as it stands now, it is a matter of life and death.
First of all, you want to find out whether the league will continue without
Villa and
Vipers.
Nick.
I want to put this on record that Villa and Vipers passed the club licensing. So, and that means they got the license to play in the league. I think that answers.
No, it doesn't. It means if they miss 3 games, they're out of the league, sport league.
I don't think according to that he's here. Will you wait for him to answer that?
In the event.
That's answered from
because yours is
from
political.
Federation side is that they passed the club licensing successfully, and they were issued with the license to play in the top league. That is
what's left is for them to decide if they're going to play.
And as far as we know, they are only trying to raise their opinions about the reforms.
Oh, wait a minute. They're the ones opening.
They have not
Vipers and Villa.
They have not written to the Federation. No. They have not written to the Federation that they won't be playing in the league. Yeah. So that is very, very, very important.
You're the ones opening. Are you playing?
No.
Those are the CAF.
What's this?
No, that is a match day 1.
Yes.
But those 2 games involving Vipers and Nick
to be decided
are likely not to be played on match day 1 because the 2 teams will be on the continent.
On the continent.
So they are likely to start with match day 2.
Now, is it a matter of life and death? No. We've had engagements, and Andrew, you were raising that it's as if we've not had engagements. There are times when you need the CEOs in the meetings. There are times when you need the owners of the clubs. And think behind the scenes, these are things that the Federation has been trying to do. Sometimes you need to make a call to the owner of a club and let them know what is happening, so that if they have a representative coming to the meeting, they know exactly what to give back to the owners of the club and to understand. Okay. So it's not that the Federation did not engage anyone. Of the meeting you're talking about in July came I think about 2 weeks after the General Assembly in Hoima, where some of these things were discussed and presented and resolutions passed as well by the General Assembly, which is the supreme body of the Federation in terms of football parliament. So the decisions being taken in the Assembly, definitely, they had to bring them back again. Can we have the CEOs now understand what exactly is going to be happening? The consultative meetings continued as well. So depending on what message was carried back, or what was discussed between FUFA and the club owners, maybe who did not attend, was there an opportunity to talk to them? Was there an attempt to talk to them? Yes, the Federation did do that. Exactly. So what is happening right now is, like Alex is saying, that they are raising concerns. Why do we want to play it this season? He didn't consult us, but that is not the fact. We did consult them. So it's not a matter of life and death that this league has got to kick off this season, or that's the tagline maybe we're having as a federation. We have also timelines as a federation that the reforms, like I've told you, from the last 5 years, this is what has been going on behind the scenes. Some is openly active with the people in discussions, some maybe not documented, but we feel that it's the right time for the reforms to hit the road, and we believe that the 13 clubs that have actually consented to play in the league, the 3 between now and 26th, as the Federation President, Honorable Moses Magogo, stated that we need them, the signature clubs to our league in Ugandan football, and we need them to play in the league, and we shall continue engaging them. We believe that we shall not fail to engage them to play in the league. I don't want anyone to dream about that the 3 clubs not play in the league. I believe that we shall reach an understanding that for them to understand, even also to understand them better on how we can move forward with the league.
And I'm going to be taking some of the feedback that is coming through via social media handles on the NTV Uganda socials. Lots of it that I'm seeing already, so I'm going to be reading out some of that. But this goes to, Hussein and you, Alex. When, for example, Dr. Lawrence Mulindo stepped out of that meeting, there are a couple of things he spoke about. He spoke about threats, he spoke about intimidation, he spoke about blackmail, which Andrew also talked about. When we hear things like this, and Andrew also hinted on this, that between the first meeting and the second meeting, from the first meeting, everyone spoke and you felt like there was going to be a sense of discussion, But between the first meeting and the second meeting, there was that letter. I hope we can have that letter on screen.
Change of strategy.
There is 2 lines on that letter where they say, if you don't take the money, the reforms go to the big league, and the money as well. Hussein, that's holding clubs at ransom. And
after that letter followed by calls of intimidation, Hussein should tell us, because the way the club officials changed tone from the first meeting that week was quite monumental. And for me, I don't want to sit here and believe naively that all the 13 clubs went, slept over through the week and embraced these amazing reforms, and the next day they just voted.
Andrew, I think you need to know the structures of the clubs in Uganda. The structures of the clubs in Uganda is there are officials that are actually, whose names are submitted to FUFA. As that you go through a system, these are official club officials, Clive Chaze, Andrew, Hussein. But then there are those who are not even part of the leadership or system or the data we have in the Federation, that maybe you need to reach out to them to make a decision as well. You need to reach out to them. It's not about intimidating. It's about reaching out to them. Because I believe there are clubs that we know that here have club owners actually. They do not appear anywhere in the federation structures. But you have got to reach out to them because maybe they pull the trigger and say, this is the money that we can give, this is what we can do, and this and that. So it's not about the threats, depending on how someone maybe puts it. But I don't think the federation went out to call the club owners, the people who matter in these clubs, that if you don't do this, this is going to happen. I don't think that's the way.
Hussein, I'll take you back to that later again. If you tell clubs that if you accept the reforms, you will get this money. If you don't accept the reforms and the money go to the big league. And
knowing that the clubs are struggling financially.
That's holding clubs at
But I think the clubs are struggling financially in the whole of the country, be it the provisional league or the 5th division. They are struggling. Actually, there was a proposal from the UPL clubs that, can you try out this proposal in the big league? And that means the money goes down to the lower division leagues. But the federation felt that this money has to be in the Uganda Premier League. It's a flagship brand of football in Uganda at club level. So why do you have to carry this money to the lower leagues when you know that the first stage of maybe a player to go bigger, even at highest level, is the Uganda Premier League? Let's take up all the decisions. Let's take up the engagement levels with the clubs to tell them, look, we need this money to move with the reforms. The reforms may have challenges. Let's try it out maybe the first season or two. If they fail, as a federation, we shall come back and say, guys, we failed on this. Yeah. Can we go back to the old format? But you could not just come and say, the new reforms actually would not need them at the moment. Yes, they have their ideas, they have their opinions about the reforms, but we feel that give us the chance. Let's have the reforms, the new format, and the league kickoff. Maybe 1 or 2 seasons, maybe even halfway the season. If things are not working out, FIFA will be the very first to apologize and even tell the people, please, next season, 2026, 2027, we're going back to the old format.
And Alex, as you come in, just a minute, as you come in, also, Hussein, when you say, you know, when they don't work out, then FIFA will be the first to apologize, it comes off like you are casually testing something with the top side league of the country. Why not start from the bottom?
Out. No, there are things actually we've started as a federation actually. And even we found ourselves in a ditch, not that we are testing out, but as an institution, even as leaders, you don't fear to start a project.
With the top flight league?
Yeah, maybe
yes, it's possible.
It's
possible. There's nothing that stops starting with a top flight league. Nothing.
It's very risky to run away from a tried, tested, and trusted formula. It's very dangerous to reinvent the wheel on issues that have been tried and tested. But I also feel sorry for Hussein. There is a saying in Soga, in my Soga culture, that when you see a rat running towards fire for safety, then you must know that what is chasing it is likely hotter than fire. No sane administration, sensitive one, would at this time bring in such reforms. I think the Federation is marketing them as modern. I will unfortunately say draconian reforms, given their style of introduction, the viciousness and aggressiveness with which they are being implemented and forced onto the clubs. But also there has been a lot of intellectual and operational dishonesty from the Federation as far as this issue is concerned. We are all in sports. Even the SportKnights here is dealing with sports on every. I also know that right here we have part of the best intelligence snoops in sports. I know Clive will tell you about which coach or player Vipers is bringing, even when we send the first email. You get it? So I don't know whether this time it was by design. I also don't know whether all these assemblies that Ahmed is talking about, where these consultations have been happening, none of you media people was there to pick something as sensitive as this. And the KCCA letter, I have even just seen it on the screen, it's very telling. Because KCCA is saying the reforms that were introduced by the president in the meeting we had on 3rd July and 25th July. Now, okay, Hussein is creating an impression that KCCA was lying in that letter.
I didn't say that.
No, I'm saying creating an impression.
No.
Because even KCCA, which is not Vipers now, is telling you.
That's the letter.
Yes, that meetings held on.
Reference is made to the 2 meetings held on 3rd and 21st of July 2025. where the FUFA president met with Uganda Premier League club chairman and CEOs accordingly to discuss proposals.
And that was the first formal introduction anywhere
you get it.
July.
And now that is, yes. And
so what happens in the assembly?
And that is,
we said we've been in some of the assemblies. Normally they mention things and approve without even debates. So if you want to go to if you want us to go to the assembly, we can also go there.
You don't have to run away from a formal
assemblies, literally guys just mention things and you approve.
The assembly is the football football parliament.
It does. It's the football parliament, but
it can be flowed.
We
no,
know,
but I don't want Andrew to say.
Yes, the football parliament, but we also know.
The thing is, being mentioned doesn't mean it was discussed.
Yeah, so what I was saying is that there is a lot of intellectual dishonesty from the Federation as far as this issue is concerned. And if you listen to the clubs, they're saying, for example, we are Vipers. We have contracts that we have signed with sponsors, our sponsors. And part of what we sold in those sponsorship contracts was a format. And we are saying we are giving you 30 games. Out of this, we have this number of appearances. You'll do this and this. So when we're calculating how much money we get from those sponsorships, we are selling what is available. Now, the Federation comes. We still have those running contractual obligations. And now so many things have to change from nowhere. You are introducing something to do with using the law to get money from me. And for me, it's a contradiction. One, it is dishonesty on behalf of FUFA, and this one doesn't require rocket science. It's not as hard to understand as the format. When you say that the money must be tied to the format. Those are two different things. Unless you're telling me that you have sold this format as a package to somebody. Because for me, what even doesn't convince me, because I understand how things run, that you've been keeping money, you know we've been collecting our money over 5 years, now we feel we are ready. Then if you've been collecting money, can we discuss the sustainability plan? Yeah? So we come in a meeting, you say 2.4 billion. We make noise, you say maybe we give them little money, let's increase and see. Now after 2 days, it is now 3.5 billion.
0.4.
0.4. Now if that's money that you've been keeping from your sources, yeah? Undisclosed sources. Because I'll tell you, as Vipers, we have wholesale policy. There is money from certain places we can't get. We don't even eat it. So, in the discipline of transparency, would we as members of FUFA, because clubs are members of FUFA, know where you are getting this money from? This one you can exercise philanthropy with. That one time it is... because I know FUFA is not a very rich organization. It's also financially struggling and pleading with government on so many other areas. Please come in. I don't know where this love for the top league has developed from nowhere, that they are willing to forego so many other things. They're even understaffed. There are areas that are not even yet populated that are supposed to be to a professional one. So I see some level of dishonesty. But then you're giving us money, but then you're collecting the little we have. You are using the law. Let me tell you what happens. You don't know how much I invest as Vipers to ensure that I have 10,000 fans attend a match. And now for you are using the law. The essence of the round lobbying is that there are clubs that I play, when I go to play them, the maximum gate collections they get is 1.5 million. Yes? Now you're making a law to share, force me, who has invested in getting the numbers, because so many strategies bring you the numbers. You must invest in that. You must invest in players that will bring you the numbers. And when I'm running my budget, I'm using the gate collections as one of the sources. Now, when a Club X comes to play at St. Mary's Stadium and I gross 120 million, it will have to take the percentage. FUFA has allocated it by law. Yeah? That if it's taking 10%, it will have to take its 12 million. When I go to play at their end,
You take your 10% of the 1.5.
I take from the 1.5. I take the 150. Yeah? Then FUFA is telling me I'm capping how much you spend. Your expenses, operational expenses for the game should not exceed 15%. Yeah? Now for me, who is at a stadium that uses electricity for floodlights by the nature of my games, that could be the range of 10 million per game, that requires a lot of security deployment by the nature, that have seats that must be cleaned, that have a turf that must be maintained before and after the match, that have a separate policy for winning bonus for players and so many other things. You are telling me that I cannot spend more than 15%, while there are clubs still within the same league who do not even go to 30% of my operational expenses. Now, when you don't have a formula where you know that all the clubs are the same footing, how do you impose that? And then you also as a federation, now exercising philanthropy, you are saying, I want also a percentage of that. But don't mind, I'll give it back to you. Yeah. You are allocating your role as a Zakayo, a tax collector, to collect from me, keep for me the money, maybe I may not need it. So...
Clive, Andrew, just a minute, Clive.
Mention something. I don't know if anyone has paid attention to the sporting disadvantage of this entire thing. Alex has tried to hint on it. I'll give an example. My KCC is playing 9 of the 15 games at home. But now Bull FC are hosting 6 of the big boys, potentially big boys that will finish in the top 6 at home. Meaning going into the third round, if Bull FC is competing for the championship, they are going to play 6 or 5 games away from home. Now you're already taking the advantage away from them. You're going to have a team that potentially will be hosting all their third round games at home, or most of their third round games at home. But also, according to the latest circular, the points that are collected in the first round do not determine the points and goals. Do not determine the final standing of the league. But the top scorer will be determined by the goals he scores from the first round, the third round, and the other round. Then probably also the other. Traditionally, of course, things change. Traditionally, we have always had 3 teams relegated, 3 teams promoted. It was the same case this time round, though only 2 are getting relegated. The 14th is playing a playoff with the 3rd team from the big league. That has also been scrapped. It is not happening. Now the standard is 2 teams are getting relegated. But now, while we know that 2 teams are getting relegated, we don't know any information about how many teams are getting promoted. Information we are going, which is yet to be communicated and confirmed, is that 4 teams might be promoted from the big league. Meaning the 2026-2027 season will have 18 teams. Now, these are all things that we are just getting to hear about. There are no clarity, and the league is starting in 12 days. Yeah, we are back to a country where football is starting for the first time. So whatever we are now doing, the level of uncertainty created by this is as if football, and it's shabby. I'm embarrassed. It's shabby because I know there are super brains in the federation led by my senior brother, the president.
Hussein, Andrew, just a minute. Just a minute. Hussein, as you get ready to respond to especially the other side of the new reforms, because we all know everything else has, the good and the bad. So we want to know how much you focused on the other, so that shows a certain level of readiness, considering you're going to roll it out. But let me just pick a few comments that are coming through. I'll start off with Anrule Musoga, who says the new league format is simply bogus. Why the rush? What was wrong with the old format? Couldn't they invest the so-called money in the old league? We also have Danny Nyeko, who says the new Uganda Premier League format is ridiculous and will encourage more match fixing. Belgian Pro League tried the round-robin format in 2010 and it failed. FUFA should return to the traditional home and away format. He says you even blocked him.
Who is that?
Someone called Danny Nyeko. We also have
On my account or what?
I don't know. You also block people. We also have James Kuruga, who says if the financial operational burdens are too large, clubs may cut corners. That's in terms of safety, health, youth development, or it may even collapse. And finally, for now, Hussein, as you come in, we have Mize, who says the league develops because of money, not the format. Why the rush? So let's talk about the other side of the new reforms that Clive hinted on together with Alex.
I think the key point that Clive is raising, that it's not just rumors. We shall have 4 teams coming from the big league. So we shall have 18 teams for 2026-2027 season. Okay. That's the Uganda Premier League.
Has that already been communicated?
That's also new now.
I'm here.
There's such
We have less as NTV SportKnights.
I think Clive and Alex, you need to...
But that will be captured in the competitions rules, definitely, for the FOFA Big League rules, and then also to be incorporated into the competitions rules of the Uganda Premier League.
So moving forward, how many will be getting relegated, how many will be getting promoted moving forward after this?
No, they are still updating.
That's what I was going to say. As Andrew comes in, I think Clive and Alex, you have to refresh your feeds just in case they...
That's why I've moved my phone to make sure that
we are even supposed to take a break, but Karim...
I just want you to see, for a program or project that has been under consultation for the last 5 years, the changes that have happened in the last 1 week, actually days, hours, from the 7th to the 10th team ending their season in April, to them playing, to the 14th team playing a playoff with a team from big league, to now not happening, to 2 teams going down, to 4 coming up, to literally everything, like it's being updated in real time. Surely, these are the things that you sort in your house before you come to the public. Now, it looks extremely embarrassing, extremely shabby, and we are just a few, and I feel sorry for my friend Hussein, because after this show we are going to be talking and joking. He's in a position where he has to appear here and talk about these things.
But I'm comfortable with that.
Fantastic,
no
if you are. Fantastic.
I'm very comfortable.
Things to do with costing. You talked of the revenue share. FOFA has no business in determining how a club runs their gate collection. Maybe for double header, it can be debated with clubs. They can agree, double header. But if I'm hosting, FOFA has no business. Actually, in the new circular, clubs have to declare their revenues in gross. The last time we asked FOFA to declare money they collect from Cranes matches, they said our financial year starts on December 1st. So regardless of what you say, December 1st to the next December 1st, shut up. Everything will be given to you. But you want the clubs to give you every match day their financials. And that's their financials. They have every right to keep it. And they also have every right to determine, not to give anyone. Of course, yes, you take 5%, UPL 5%, but then FOFA donates back.
We are not going to help FOFA break the law. We are not going to declare that.
Okay. So for me, again, this whole thing, and by the way, my point on the format, it can continue, but it's flawed. The moment you start, I can read it and understand it. I can wake up, do morning prep and understand it. Hussein has done a good job explaining it. Anyone can read and explain it. But why must you go through that pain to explain something so basic? Explaining it and understanding it doesn't mean it's actually something simple. It can be refined as we go on. Then 2, the question of why this is being pushed right now with all the energy, with all the, even not caring much about the real concerns being raised by people, because things to do with revenue share, good collection and all, we thought they were addressed, but they're still in.
They're not. You get it. That's why I'm laughing at my colleagues, the 13 clubs. Say we have accepted the new league format. Then when I were aside, I was like, have you also accepted this? They said, that one, no. Have you this? I said, then you sold your...
Then there's the small matter. There's the small matter of you guys having already done your budgets and all. Of course, clubs will play maybe an extra 5 matches or something. There's something we are not being told. These games will be on TV. There's someone producing those games. That means more money. It's more business.
For the person, for the team, the company.
Yes.
Yeah, in fact, the actual beneficiary of this format may be more than the clubs, but
Yeah. So there's something we are not being told by FUFA, and pushing around different sheep to fall in line, and those who are not yet, paying for time, because they'll come in anyway. Hussein just explained you are eligible for registration or to play in the next season.
yeah, and the licensing requirements are not tied to.
And if you miss 4 or 5 games or something, then literally you're out.
Although what we have decided, and the president was addressing the players, they're leaving tomorrow for our game
in South Africa,
in Cape Town, and we have been very deliberate that we don't want to cause any battle. We want the players to concentrate right now for the Champions League business we have to represent the nation, but also for the players not to get swallowed up in this whole process. But we are also, we were initially very hopeful that the Federation will understand us. However, the Chisoga saying is still disturbing me, because it seems what is chasing this rat is really very hot. Because to market poison mixed with milk.
Do you mind saying it in Lusoga?
To market poison?
No, the proverb.
Yeah, the proverb is that ugobonempuve ngerumuka mu muliro okwekweka. Nekitegeeza nti ekirigi goba kyokya okusinga omuliro.
Okay.
So whatever FUFA committed itself to, or whatever it entered for purposes of delivering this new league format, must be hotter than the fire they are receiving from the public, the stakeholders, and the clubs as far as its implementation.
What is Vipers' way forward?
We, after the match on which we are focusing ourselves on, we will make our pronouncements on the way forward.
Okay.
Will it be joined with that of
we are in talks with the Villa up to the time I came on set. We are resolute on what we feel. However, where you are left in the desert with no food, and the only person who has a car to pick you from there demands that if you don't sleep with me, demands for sexual exploitation favors in order to take you, you may end up choosing either to be raped
Or to report to the nearest police station.
So we will have a conversation.
Hussein, you're parting shots because we have moved so fast. We have moved so fast from the Omulio to.
But I get the example. The example is valid.
But how can Hussein give us parting shots? The show is still going on.
Do you know what time it is? It's midnight. Do you notice? Andrew, Hussein, forget about Andrew. Andrew is not married. You're parting shots.
Are you?
Wow.
So, I think for us as a federation, we believe that football will be played and the league will go on. We shall not stop engaging even the 13 who have already accepted to play in the league under the new format. The 3 who have not yet come on board. But you can see in football sometimes when you're writing your story in a seemingly offside position, you don't commit yourself. But we believe that the commitment will come from all the 16 clubs to play in the league, and that's what we need. We need Vipers, we need Villa, we need NEC to come on board.
Okay.
We believe that when they're not there, there is some sugar that will be missing in the league. So we need them there. Let's have the sugar mixed very well with the rest of the 13 teams to make 16. And then football will be played on the pitch. If you're strong enough, you still win under the new format. If you're not strong enough, you'll find your best position on the league.
You know, this team, the last time we had this kind of caviar, KCCFC won the league title, so the drama should continue.
You've given Hussein a parting shot. May I want to ask Hussein, In your heart of hearts, do you feel this league is a true representation of the spirit of the game?
You want an honest answer on the set? Where he has people waiting for him to give accountability for the time?
Yes, I believe so, because I've been part of the process. Like I've told you, for the last 5 years, I have seen and been involved in the meetings, consultative ones, and where we've talked to players, we've talked to different stakeholders to listen to us and also understand what's happening. So it's for the good spirit of the game, and I'm in total support.
Okay.
Remember one parting shot.
Alex, you have a second because you had.
Yes, I just wanted to assure everybody that at least even in Somalia, where there are guns all the time, football is still played.
Okay.
So even in the worst,
even in the desert,
even in the worst of formats, football will be played and it will win.
The absence of war is not
the best parting shots you could ever get. The best parting shots you could ever get. I don't think today we'll be able to do what we always do, guys. The predictions. And stuff like that.
It's okay.
But don't worry, we'll do that next week rather, not even next weekend. Thank you, Alex, for making the time. Thank you, Hussein, for honoring our invitation and coming here to discuss the new format. For all of you that sent in your feedback, thank you so very much, guys. Oh, it's been a long 2 hours. We'll catch you again. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Clive. Thank you, Manzi, Drama, Umar, and everyone, Karim, and everyone behind the scenes. Thank you so much. We'll catch you again, guys, next Monday. Good night.